All right. Um, good morning again. Good afternoon here in Omaha. And I think it's afternoon where most of you are. Some of you it's already night anyway. So like I said earlier, today we're going to be focusing and talking about how to thrive in challenging times. And this focus today is going to be more around how to prioritize your mental health and more importantly, with a focus on your mental I'm sorry, a focus on your physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being. Now, why is this very important? Because at the end of the day, this is what I'm hoping we can achieve. I'm hoping that at the end of this call, that not only will you be able to have the practical tools that are necessary to prioritize your mental health, and foster whatever resilience, strength, challenges, or whatever it is that you need to go through, but also that you will have what it takes to navigate not just the economic, but also whatever personal challenges it is that you're dealing with and just be able to run with that going forward. Now, there are a few things that I want to just quickly point out, and I think it's very important for you to understand this, that some of the things that I'm talking about, they're not just for now. Do you understand my point? They're not just like because things are tight or things are difficult. These are principles that you have to consider and you have to apply on an ongoing basis. So it is very, very important for you to understand that at the end of the day, you will receive very actionable insights that will not only resonate with your daily reality, but are things that are going to help you form the fabric of how you want to live your life going forward. I hope that makes sense. Is that making sense to everybody on the call so far? Okay, good. I hope so. Now, a few things that I want to talk about. I'll give you some definitions to begin with. We'll start with some very simple definitions so that way, because sometimes we think we understand a thing, but when you get into the meat of the matter, you come to find out that you truly do not even understand what that meant. Because if I were to open the call right now and I ask the question, in fact, I should do that. Let me do that. What does mental health mean to you? Let me pick Beatrice. What does mental health mean to you? Beatrice, can you hear me? You're still muted.
For me, mental health means the well-being of my state of mind.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. Victor, what does mental health mean to you, sir? Okay. Look,
Can you hear me?
we can hear you now.
Sorry, Doc. I'm actually in transit. I took permission from uh,
No,
Kemi to
no,
allow me
just
play.
just
But okay, I can quickly just
yeah,
say,
just 30 seconds.
basically, in addition to what she has said, your ability to deal with stress
Mm,
or stress inducers. So
okay.
your ability to deal with stress and how you're able to cope, basically talks about mental well-being.
Okay.
So, okay, just
So, so that is a classic example. That is a classic example of when I talk about differentiators in people's perception of the word mental health. Because mental health is a lot more encompassing. In Beatrice's analogy, for her, mental health is her well-being, her emotional state of well-being, and everything else associated with that. Victor emphasized more around stress inducers, more about trying to stabilize and manage that. So that's why I mean that when we talk about mental health, the understanding is so different. So the first thing I want to talk about is what is mental health? Mental health simply encompasses three core areas. Number one, what is your emotional state of being? And when we're talking about your emotions, we're talking about your feelings, and feelings range from anger, fear, happiness, joy, everything else that we express inwardly. The second piece of that, mental health, when we talk about, is your psychological state of being. Psychologically, where are you? What are you thinking? How are you processing? How are you dealing with things presently going forward? Next, You also talk about your social well-being, talking about your circle of influence, the people around you, all of that fun stuff associated with whatever it is that you consider to be your social network. The key, why this is so important is that your mental health influences how you handle stress. It influences how you make decisions. It influences how you relate to people around you. It influences almost everything about your entire person. So, being able to understand this and being able to maintain it is essential, not only for you to be successful, but also for you to have a high degree of resiliency, meaning being able to go through things, especially when things are tight and when things are tough, like it is today in some parts of the world. Now, I'm going to take each of these individually because I really need you to understand this. Today's conversation is a little bit very, let's say, I'm trying to approach this in a very, very structured way because this topic is so important. It's so fundamental. It's so foundational to everything and anything you do. The second thing I'm going to talk about now is your physical well-being is the foundation to your mental health. And you may want to write that down. Your physical well-being, your physical well-being is the foundation to your mental health. Now, why is this important? Because if the foundation is broken, if the foundation is faulty, if there's a crack in the foundation, it doesn't matter how gorgeous, how beautiful, how aspirational you are as a person, you will not go far. So you must understand the foundational essence of your physical well-being. And when we're talking about your physical well-being, we're talking about your health overall. Somebody says you may have all the money you have in this life, but if you don't have health, you cannot enjoy it. You can be able to afford everything. I mean, just picture this in your mind. Try to picture this. Steve Jobs, one of the wealthiest men that have lived in his time, brilliant, smart, a genius, fell ill, and there was nothing he could do about it, despite all the money he had. And that is the story of people over and over and over and over and over. So you hear things like health is wealth, and there's a true statement in that. Because without health, nothing else works. It means you're on a timer because everything else, your emotional well-being, your psychological well-being, your social well-being, everything else goes to fray because you now begin to focus on one thing, which is your emotion, your physical well-being. And that is so critical. So what are some of the things that you do? I'll tell you two key things that you must do to maintain the foundation or your mental or your physical well-being. Number one, you must stick to routines and rest. Routine and rest. Why? You must have consistent sleep patterns or sleep habits, relaxation routines, and very crucial that you find time to just unwind, detach, and refresh from everything that's going on. Recently I was talking to somebody and the person says, Dala, you every small thing you're off, you're gone on vacation. Every small thing you're off on a trip. Every small thing. I said, because I work really hard. I work very, very hard. I spend a lot of time. When I'm home working, I'm working. I mean, I give it 110% every time. So by the time other people are doing 2 months of work, I have done 3, 4 months of work. So I need a break. And then on top of it, God has provided. So what's the problem? If, and so for me, being able to have that routine break is very, very crucial to me. So you must understand that it is very important for you to have consistent. Some of you think, oh, I will just work I will just work 6 straight days, no sleep. Why? Here's the thing I want you to remind you, and I want to say this to you. If you die today, if you fall down and die today, before your funeral in about a week or two, your employer would have already reposted your job. They're already looking for somebody else. That is a statement of fact. There is no amount of work, there is no piece of work that is so important that you can put your mental health, and I'm talking about your physical well-being, particularly at this point, at stake. It leads to burnout. It leads to inefficiencies. It leads to everything that is negative. And who needs that? Who needs that? So you've got to always think about your physical well-being, and part of that is making sure that you're consistently resting, you have a relaxation routine. These are very crucial for you to have mental clarity. Otherwise, you find yourself looping around, going around in a loop. The second piece of it is this: you must exercise and pay attention to what you eat. Talking about nutrition now. Now, I'm talking to Africans. I'm talking to Nigerians. We love our food. As a matter of fact, food, the quantity and the type of food you eat is a sign of your prosperity. Mm. Some things are not good for you. Let me just look at you straight and just tell you. I see people post some things and I ask myself, why? I mean, why would any human being eat food just by looking at the portion and the size of the food alone? You're talking about almost 20% of the person's body mass. Only you, one human being. Where are you putting that food? Then before you know it, you're looking as if you're 8 months pregnant and you're a man. How? Because you don't take care of it. So we have this mentality, and that mindset is a poverty mindset. When you grow up in poverty, when you grow up in lack, when you grow up without anything, you think that now you're trying to supplement or you're trying to make up for what you lost. You didn't lose anything. Everything needs to be done in moderation. So it is important for you to exercise. And I'm talking about very simple exercises, making sure you're fit, making sure you're healthy. Go to the gym, go for a walk, run, do something that would help you to live long. Because the Bible, even those of you, most of you on this call are Christians, right? The Bible itself says that bodily exercise gives much, gives little to the body. It still gives something. It gives you some value. And it is so important for you to make sure that you have something in place that will ensure your longevity. If not, what's going to happen is that you just be walking down the street one day, and it happens to a lot of us, especially back home in Africa. You see somebody who is young, who is dynamic, who is sitting down. We saw it in many meetings where a person, I think was the customs, whatever it is, just sitting down and giving a report to the government leaders, and right there falls down and dies. How do you explain that? Now, we don't do autopsies, we don't do all those other things that happens to be able to really see what the problem is. But I can guarantee you that most of the untimely, and when I say untimely deaths, I'm talking about people who die under the age of 60 and under in Africa. Most of the time, I'll say majority of the time, if you look at it, it's not because they died of natural causes. They must have died because of something that could have been avoided. And we'll always say, oh, it's somebody from the village. They just, your village people are not that powerful. They're not. Because if they were, they would have used that power to make themselves better. They would have gotten rid of you long before now. What were they waiting for? Do you understand? So they're not as influential as we think. These are all beliefs that we have already created in our minds and excuses that we use to try to explain away our failures or inability to do what we need to do. So make sure that you exercise, make sure that you have balanced meals. Even on a budget, you can have balanced meals. Do you know one of the things, one of the things that I love about going to Africa? The food is organic. The food is fresh. The food is cheap. At least comparatively for me, it is. But it doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter where you are on the economic spectrum. You can always be able to provide your own food at decent prices. Why? Because these things will help not only stabilize your mood, but it also give you energy to keep going forward and doing things that you need to do. So make sure for your physical well-being, you stick to routines, you stick to rest, make sure that you have enough exercise, and make sure that you're eating properly. Take care of yourself. And that's why, if you remember, I said today, we're talking about very practical things that you can do going forward. We're not talking some exponential, make sense, no make sense, theoretical things. Let's talk the next thing. Let's talk about your emotional resilience. We're still talking about your mental health now. We've talked about physical well-being. Now let's talk about emotional resilience. And when we're talking about emotional resilience, I'm thinking more around managing your stress and your emotions. One of the biggest things, I don't know how, and every of us is different. Every one of us is different. In the last maybe 10, 15 years, maybe in the last 10, since 2006, so that's 18 years. In the last 18 years, I found out that there are times where I get so stressed and I start falling sick. And I never understood it for a long time. I just thought it was just nature and all of those things. But then I began to pay attention to the symptoms. And the more I paid attention to the symptoms, I began to ask myself, what is it that causes me to fall sick at this time? And then I realized something, that every time I start feeling those symptoms that lead me to being sick is because I am stressed. Oh, really? So what did I do? Every time I start feeling those symptoms, I just stop. I stop. It doesn't matter what is at stake. I stop. I stop thinking overthinking the issue. I stop worrying about it. I just put it on the shelf and return to it. I do something to just disengage from the situation because I realize it's causing me stress. So the question is, what are your stress triggers? Do you even know? How can you manage that? Most of us don't know. We just say, I'm stressed, I'm stressed, I'm stressed. Okay, so then what? I just want to feel. No, there are times you need to understand your stress triggers. So for me, every time I begin to feel that way, I just disconnect. I don't care what's at stake. Why? Because I know once I become stressed, I will become sick. And once I become sick, it impacts my foundation, which is my health, my physical health, my physical well-being. That means everything just falls apart. What are your stress factors? So you must know how to be able to develop a very practical, quick technique. For some people, it's just as simple as just sitting down there and just take a deep breath. Most of us that have Apple Watch, if you have one of these watches or you have an Apple phone or an iPhone or whatever it is, there are so many tools in there that you can leverage. So many tools. Take advantage of them. This thing has what they call mindful minutes, where you can actually turn it on and it will walk you through your breathing. It will check your blood pressure and everything until you calm down. You're just going around iWatch, is what they call it again, Apple Watch, whatever it is. And you don't even use 10% of its capabilities. So you must know these things. And something funny happened because I used to monitor my health and all of those things, especially like my blood pressure and all of those kind of stuff. And I noticed that at certain times, if it will be here, then boom, it's up here for a period of for a few days and then it drops. And then after a while, boom, it's up there. So I wasn't paying attention in real time. It was a few months later, I looked back and said, what is causing my stress levels to just be spiking like that? And then I went back and I was looking at my calendar to see what was going on at that period. Like, tell you, this is how deliberate you have to be about these things. Looking at my calendar, like, what is it that is causing me to be so stressed at certain times that it's causing my blood pressure to spike? Believe it or not, this is what I found out. Every one of those periods that my blood pressure was high, I was in Nigeria. I just said, so and it made sense because every time I'm there, there are just simple things that you'll expect people to know how to do, and they won't do it. And so you just get annoyed. You're driving on the road, somebody is cutting in front of you, somebody is honking at you. It's like everything, you're just like, what is wrong with these human beings? You are coming through the airport, somebody's holding your passport and asking you, yes, your boys are here. Hey, welcome. Well, just give me my freaking passport. Let me go. Like, it's like the society is designed to stress you. In fact, you people, you're the most resilient human beings I know because if you go, Ah! So I had to get to a point where I made a decision. I had to make a decision that I am not going to be stressed by anything happening in Nigeria. In fact, I become so conscious about it that I catch myself. Like the moment I'm flying to go into Nigeria, now at where I am is as I'm flying in, I'm already preparing myself mentally, emotionally, physically, and otherwise. Anything that comes, it now becomes like I just laugh at it. I just laugh about it. Why? Because I'm trying to protect myself. We were in Nairobi a few weeks ago, and the airport staff they were striking, and it was at one point the Cameroonians just scatter airports like there was this big mess. It was crazy. Everybody was doing the Cameroonians were doing their own, South Africa. It was like a national thing because people were traveling to a specific country, so they were all on the same flight. So everybody was just scattering ground. It was so funny. So when I walked by, I saw the flights going to Lagos. I saw the Nigerians, they've now started planning. I just had to, I just walked over, I just said, hey, my people. I said, I beg, more than no vex. I beg. Because Nigerians are naturally on edge. So if they now come and take it to now start doing aluta inside airports, Jesus. I knew it was I just had to talk to them. I was like, look, listen, you can't change what is happening. What is happening is beyond the airport staff's capabilities. This is the president and the governments that are trying to make decisions on things. So no matter what you do here in the airport, if you like burn the airport, your no flight is taking off right now. Uh, Thankfully, sometimes this white, this gray fox or white baby, as we call it, it has its advantages. Because the guy just looked at me saying, senior, not just because of you, so as per elder now. My man are just like, yes, we're the elders. And they listen, and they listen. Because when we're talking, I think first of all, I think the guy just gauged me, just looked at me first, like, who's this one talking? Then I think he now looked, he says, I said, you're going to Lagos? I said, yes. Then he looked at my passport. He just, okay, yeah, all right, it's well. He just looked, he just, okay. Because, and they all calmed down. Eventually, every one of us, the airport opened up, maybe 8 hours later, the airport opened up and everybody started leaving. So what's the point of stressing yourself on something you can't change? To what end? To what end? So make sure you understand those things and make sure you have a technique, have a system that helps you to manage your stress levels at all times. And the second part of it all, of talking about how to manage your stress and emotions, I'm talking about emotional resiliency, is making sure that you have positive relationships. I can't emphasize this enough. Build a support network. Talk with your friends, talk with your families, talk with your colleagues. Offer emotional relief and perspectives on things that are important to you. It's not every time. Hey, hey, this country, person, waiting Musa no go see for gate. No. It's okay to talk about these things, but at the same time, don't leave on that negative note. Figure out ways to strengthen each other. Figure out ways to empower each other. Figure out ways to encourage each other because just being negative all the time does not add any value to your emotional resilience. It doesn't make you stronger. It just makes you more stressed. It just takes up the stress levels higher. That's why we have the private transformation network. Like I was saying, a platform where you can all bounce ideas, you can all encourage each other when somebody's going through something. I was talking to a very close person who lives in the UK actually, moved to the UK recently, and in the conversation, this person was telling me, things are tough, blah blah blah, and I just started laughing. I was like, why are you laughing? Why are you laughing at me now? I don't understand. Why are you laughing? I said, do you remember in those days when we used to come from the abroad? You'll be looking at us like, I'm asking you for just common $200. You can't even give me, you know. You say, those are the days of ignorance. I said, now you know how it is, eh? Because everybody back home thinks that. In fact, I had to ask the question. I said, so what happened to your money tree? Because when you come to the US or to the UK, at the moment you leave Africa and move overseas, if you move into an apartment or you buy a house, the house always comes with a tree at the back that has money. You just go there, collect anything you want. It's standard. Every house comes with it. I don't know, maybe that's the mindset people have. Or that you're walking down the street, there's just money. As you're just walking, you're like, oh, money, money, money. Do you realize how hard people work here? Do you realize how much bills you have to pay here? Do you understand the cost of living over here? If you did, you will treat people who send you, even if it is $20 they send you, if it is $10 they send you, you will appreciate it because you will understand that these things don't come cheaply. Do you understand what I'm saying? So when I was having this conversation with this person, but I asked the question. It's not enough to laugh about it, but my question was, so do you have a support network? Is there somebody who you can talk to, who is encouraging you, who can work with you, blah, blah, blah? And do you know what this person said to me? And it just made me sad. It just made me so sad. This person said, yes, I have some people who have been here for a longer time. I've tried to ask them, hey, how do you go about this? How do you go about this? And this is what the person said she and her husband were told that she be on a just come and make on a two now discover for herself. You've lived in America, you've lived in Germany, you've lived in the UK, you've lived in Brazil, wherever it is you've lived there for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. Your family, your friend, your fellow compatriot flies from all the way to Africa to try and come here and try and make a better life for themselves. Instead of you to share the knowledge that you have, your first response would be like, Africans, I'm sorry, but Africans are very wicked. I'm sorry to say this, especially some Nigerians are very wicked people. It doesn't, I came to America with, look, by God's grace, more than half of the things that I know, I discovered myself. Some of the things were by trial, by error. You fail here, you fall there, you pick up, you rise up, you try again. But for me to now find joy in somebody else going through the same pain, are we in some kind of competition or what? I don't get it. You can't, it's another human being going through, trying to make a better life for themselves. But your position is, I can't, and ah, these things just get to me. Why? Because freely have you received. If you didn't have the gift of life, what would you do? There are people who have blessed me with knowledge, information, access, partnerships that have helped me to become who I am today. And I think each of us must start thinking about ways to pay it forward. And that is why it is important for you to have relationships that are always positive. If there's a person, I don't care if the person is family, a friend, a foe, whoever they are, if they cause you stress, they don't add value to your life, tell them Jesus is Lord. We did not come together. Our paths intersected one day. That path would also separate sometime. It's okay. That person will be fine. You will be fine. I promise you, you'll be okay. Give it time. You will be fine. And one day you wake up and find out that you didn't even remember the person again. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So pay attention to your relationships. Why? Because your emotional resilience rides on that. The third thing I want to talk about now is spiritual well-being. Now, we're all people of diverse faiths. We all believe something. But the thing about that belief system is that it gives us inner peace and it gives us a sense of purpose. So whether you're a Christian, you're a Buddhist, you're a Muslim, you're an atheist, you're a Zionist, you're a chemist, whatever it is, you're a Shakist, whatever it is that's your faith, whatever it is that you need to do, you have to understand that you have to practice daily. Maybe for you, it might be prayer. For you, it might be a time of meditation. But those simple habits will help bring about inner peace and clarity. Most of us, when we do those things, it gingers our faith. It enables us to start having this sense of hope that tomorrow will be better. It helps refocus us. It helps recenters us. It helps us stay clear as to what it is that has to happen next. If you're somebody who likes to write, who likes to journal, write your thoughts down. But develop a daily practice, develop something that you do regularly that will help you to be able to maintain inner peace at all times. At all times. There's a peace that passes all understanding. There is a peace. If anything is tampering or messing with my peace, that is where I can condone a lot of things. I can condone a lot. I have a very broad spectrum of patience. But if the thing starts touching my peace, that is where we're drawing the line. We don't play like that. Why? Because anything that tampers with that is a problem. The second part of that, apart from your daily practices of practicing your faith, you also have to have clear faith and purpose. You have to believe in something that you can be able to draw strength from. Whatever that belief is, whatever that personal value is, these things are important because they can help guide you through hardships. Earlier on the beginning of this call, Kim was saying something, and she said she made an inference to the fact that she said, that even there was scarcity in the land, that Isaac continued to dig and sow and do all of those things. Why? It was his faith. He believed that he was going to prosper. He believed. Faith is the substance. Think about this. Faith substantiates what you hope for. It gives evidence to the things that you haven't seen. In your mind, faith makes that future of peace, of prosperity, of plenty visible. It makes it tangible for you. So that way you can be able to say, okay, it's just a matter of time. There was a time, something happened. Let me share it with you. It's fine. It was in 2014. 2014. As a matter of fact, if I let me, in 2014, November, it was March of 2014, I went for my annual physical, and my doctor told me that my PSA was high, which meant that there's a chance that I had cancer. So I had to go see a doctor. I had to go see a specialist we had to do what's called a biopsy. And after the biopsy came back, he said, well, I didn't even know what they were looking for, to be honest with you, because I just knew that I had to go see a specialist. I had to go. So I just went. So they say, oh, we need to do a biopsy, blah, blah, blah. They did the biopsy, which was brutal. By the time they were done with that, and the biopsy is basically, they go into your body and take out samples. And by the time they were done, I didn't even understand what the guy was saying. So when I was in his office, I came in and the guy just said, well, the good news is that you don't have cancer. I said, ah. That was the first time it dawned on me, like, wait, what? In your mind, you like can't what? The guy said, oh, the good news is that you don't have cancer at least. So, but come back in 6 months, let's check again. So that's when I now call my doctor. Like, what were we checking for again? He said, oh, you didn't know. I explained everything to you, but my mind was not even there. 6 months later, November of 2014, after October of 2014, September, October of 2014, I went back to see the doctor, and this time they said it's higher, which tells us that there's definitely something. So they did what's called an extensive biopsy, and then they found out that 3 cords had cancer cells. And by virtue of what it was, at that time, the guy told me, listen, yo, if we don't do anything about it, you have 5 years. So 2014, 2019 is end of the ministry on this side of eternity. That was real. That was reality. But I asked him a question. My question was, what is the guarantee that if we did these things that you're recommending we do, that I'm going to get a cure? He said, there's no guarantee. We'll just try it and see what happens. So I will go through this process of this gruesome, life-changing treatment plan and it's trial and error. I went home. And I remember I spoke with my family about it, and I went and we all agreed that, okay, listen. And I made a decision. I said, listen, I would rather spend the next 5 years of my life. I would rather spend the next 5 years of my life, living out my best life, knowing that's 2019, peace out, you know. And that's where I was. We talked about it. My spouse was cool with it. It's not, but rather than me going through all that process and live the rest of my life like a vegetable in case it didn't work out. So, and then I'll still come and die on top. What kind of nonsense is that? Now you lose on both sides. I said, no, I better leave that in. I'm going to live my best life now. And that's what I did. And so I remember the first 3 days. The first 3 days, I could not sleep. When I say I could not sleep, I could literally hear my pulse, my heart beating boom, boom, boom. Like I couldn't sleep for 3 days. At some point, I said, whoa, the stress from this thing will kill me before the disease itself kills me. So I had to make a decision to say, okay, you know what? I had to come to peace. I had to find peace in saying, I have 5 years and I'm just, and he told me, he said the disease will not become so bad that it will take at least up to 5 years before it really gets to a point where it incapacitates me. So for me, I was like, 5 years, the clock is ticking. I will enjoy this next 4.5 years or whatever is left of it until then we'll come back. So most of you who I was working with that time in Nigeria between 2014 and 2019, you didn't know what was going on. I didn't tell any of you. In fact, that was part of what led to PTN starting because I decided I'm going to use those 5 years to give back to Nigeria, to give back to Africa. So I was spending a lot of time there. I was developing programs. That's why I was pushing many of you so that you could rise up real quick. Why? Because you were going to be my legacy. I wanted to give you everything that I have learned. And in the process, so all the things that we did in PTN, if you notice, for those of you who have gone through the PTN retreats, you'll notice that we do a lot of focus on time, the value of time. You hear me say things like time is life. You didn't know why we were doing that. It was because of things I was going through. There was no time to waste. So it is so critical for you to understand that stressing over the thing will not change anything. So for 5 years, think about this. For 5 years, when I was busy there working with you people in Niger, traveling from Yola to Uyo to Calabar, Calabar to Port Harcourt, Port Harcourt to Kaduna, Kaduna, Abuja, Abuja, Lagos. You all didn't know. I was using my own money because truth of the matter is that at that point, what am I saving the money for? 5 years from now, I don't need it. My children were set, my family is set. So I had things, I was doing a lot of things. That's why even all the programs and the trainings we were doing it so cheap. Most of the times we had to pay out of pockets to make the difference. Because for me, it was the opportunity to give back. But the thing was that my faith kept me going. My values kept me going. Even though it was a hard, difficult time, that was the one thing that kept driving me. So even though I was going through that in my body, none of you knew. Most of you on this call who are PTN members did not even know that I was dealing with cancer. Never brought it up. I was happy. I was content. I didn't think about it. If it comes to my mind, I'll just be like, that one at 2019 matter. I won't reach that bridge. We'll go cross that when the time come. We're ready to go. In fact, so that is what it was. So when I returned back to the States in February of 2019, those of you who are part of PTN, you remember this. When I was leaving to go back in February of 2019, most of you didn't know that in my mind, I'd made up that this is the last trip back home. But something interesting happened. After I got home, my doctor now called me because I had to go see them. And my doctor called me, and then my doctor said, he said, there's this guy. Now remember, this is 5 years. 5 years. Did nothing. No treatment, no anything for 5 years. 5 full years. Did nothing. But it was, and I was not thinking, I was not stressing, I was not worrying, I was not going from papa to mama to pope to apostle, rubbing head, lying down, pouring sand, oil. What is it? She mean they say heaven is a beautiful place. Then why can't we go now? If it's that time, let's go. If all of us want to, like Bob Marley said, all of us, I mean, Bob Marley, Jimmy Cliff that said that everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. So the only way to go to heaven is to die first, Abby. So me, my mind was already made up. My only concern is that I'm like, God, if I'm coming to that side, please just make sure my mansion is ready before I come, because all that one that I'll now come, I'll now be part of the laborers that is packing sand to go and be helping to complete my mansion because my house is not ready. All that business, I beg, I'm not doing that. Or to go and be squatting one other family member until my own mansion is ready. I'm not doing that kind of thing, please. just just make sure the mansion is ready before March of 2019. Okay. And that was it. The only thing that was hard for me was that I was going to miss my family. My kids were going to miss me. I was not going to be here to see my daughters get married, my kids graduate from school. Those were the things that were just painful for me. But besides, it was a matter of I decided to live a good life. I started vacationing, I started traveling, I started going to places I wanted to go, and I started giving back. Why? Because what am I fighting for? Now, 2019 reaches and I come back home and I went to see this guy. And in 5 years, so much had changed technologically and otherwise to a point where there was a breakthrough for me. And here we are. That was 2019. This is 2004. This is 2024. 5 years later, 10 years after the diagnosis, I'm still here and I'm healthy, I'm alive, I'm well, there's nothing bothering me. So, what would stressing myself have done for me? Nothing. But my faith kept me going. My peace of mind kept me going. I was exercising, I was working out, I was doing all the things that I needed to do to help me become healthier. What are your drivers? You've got to pay attention to the things that you need to maintain your spiritual well being. Now, the next thing that you need to do is that you need to set boundaries to protect your mental health. You've got to set boundaries. Let me say this to you. It is okay to say no. And in fact, let me say it in with a Nigerian accent. Enu o. It's okay. Ah, ah. People will want things from you. You can't. Everybody is okay, okay, okay. Ah, it's okay to say no. Limit the commitments that you're making because every commitment drains you. It will burn you out. In fact, do you know something? I was telling somebody earlier on today. I said, listen. I said, do you know the funny thing? There was a time people would just call me. Every time I'll get phone call, I'll get text message, I'll get message, this and that, this and that. We need this, I need that, I need this, I need that from all these people. And then here's what I came to discover. Do you know that those people who are harassing you because they want stuff from you, do you know that the reason why they will call you and ask for it is because it is an easy solution? They don't want to do the work. You are toiling, you've toiled, so they will want to ask you. But the thing is that, are you giving them your seed or are you giving them bread? How can you carry the seed that you're supposed to build your future with and be giving it to people and they'll eat it as bread? How are you going to grow? It's okay to say no. There was a time I started telling my family, my own family. In fact, there was a time even my own mother, I said no. I said I don't have. In fact, my own sister, I'm a very open person. My own sister actually told me one day, she said, why person go get brother like you going to suffer for this life? I said, really? Also, who is my own brother? Do I have two heads? But I realized that the moment I started saying no, I started having peace of mind. I started having more seed to sow. And later on, it made it possible for me to be able to do more for those same people. Otherwise, those people that are drawing and pulling from you, before you know it, you will be burnt out and all of you will be on the ground together. You have to have a clear focus. You've got to keep working. You've got to keep striving. You've got to keep pushing towards your aspirations. And I'm not saying don't help people. Please help people. It's important. But don't do it at the expense of your future. I know this is a hard topic for many of you. They will make you look like a devil. They'll make you feel bad. They'll make you feel heartless. It's not that you don't care. You love them, but the thing is that you are not in a position to give them the things that they're asking for. And here's what I came to discover. The same people who you told no today, they will figure out how to solve that problem without you. They always do. There was a time they used to call me and ask me for everything. I had to ask one of my relatives. I said, listen, I said, if I'm dead today, how will you survive? Do you know what the person said? No. Do you know what the person said to me? Nothing. Just kept quiet, no answer. Because they know I was saying the truth. If I am not in your life today, how will you be able to survive? No response. And from that point on, this individual started figuring out things on their own. Don't kill yourself. You must learn how to say no. The second part of that boundary is that you must prioritize your time for yourself. I call it me time. Small breaks throughout the day can help rejuvenate your energy and your focus. There are times, like there are days that my calendar will be booked back to back to back to back to back. And you think that you're doing all these things. After 8 hours, you're just burnt out, you're just tired, and you'll be feeling like, oh yeah, I'm the So from that point on, there was a time where my calendar, like if any of you wants to have a meeting with me, I'll send you a link to my calendar. It's okay, here, link, book, whatever it is. I didn't pay attention to things. But now, if you're booking a meeting with me, you find out that the maximum amount of time I'll give you is 30 minutes. Mostly 15 minutes, but maximum 30 minutes. For us to have a conversation that passes 30 minutes, it has to be that I am passionate about the thing we're discussing, or I feel that you're worth that time. If not, 30 minutes. It doesn't matter who it is. Why? Because there is nothing we can discuss that cannot be discussed in 30 minutes. And if we can't finish it in 30 minutes, we can always continue it the next time. Prioritize time for yourself. It doesn't matter if it is going on a vacation. It doesn't matter if it is just taking some quiet time at home peacefully by yourself, turning your phone off. Sometimes it's turning your phone. Turn your phone off. It's very okay to turn your phone off. I promise you, by the time you turn your phone back on, Facebook will still be there. Instagram will still be there. The world will still be revolving while your phone is off. I guarantee you. I've tried it. But the difference is that you will be so refreshed. You just need to learn how to disconnect and spend that time for you, your own time, yourself. Encourage yourself, strengthen yourself, build yourself, add value to yourself. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Then the next thing I want to talk about is that it is important for you to always have this growth mindset. I call it a growth-oriented mindset. If you're not yet there, but at least you're working towards it. Why? Because it will help you to reframe or to restructure or to recalibrate the challenges that you're going through. What does that mean? We all see challenges in different ways. Do you understand my point? Every challenge presents itself to people in different ways. To some people, it might be the end of the world. You understand? But for some other person, it can just be something, it can be a platform for them to build strength and for them to get more resilience. How do you see that challenge? Do you see that challenge as an opportunity for growth? Do you see that challenge as an opportunity to move up to the next level? Or do you see that challenge as something that will decimate you? It is all perspective. It is all in your mind. It is all how you approach it. How do you see that challenge? Oftentimes, that will determine how you handle it, how you come out of it, what value you get from it, and all of those things. So it is very important for you to also fully understand that how I see the world reflects how it comes towards me. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Then in that process, you must have a continuous learning mindset, meaning that you must embrace a mindset of learning new skills that will help you adapt to changing situations. For you to think that, oh, I'll never be challenged, you're on a different planet. You will be challenged no matter who you are. No matter who you are, things will happen to you, things will confront you, things will hit you up. But the question is, how do you manage it? How do you see it? What did you learn from it? What did you gain from it? Those are the things that will help you move forward or stay in the gutter. What's your preference? So have that growth oriented mindset. Reframe the challenges that you're facing. Call it something else. I posted something on my status a few days ago and I said, some people say things, oh, this is my dream car, my dream house, my dream this, my dream that. I said, acquiring dream stuff is very easy. All you have to do is lay down, go to sleep, and start dreaming. And you're there. But if you start thinking about these things as your future goals, it changes the way you think. The next thing you're thinking is like, I've got to go hustle. I've got to work hard. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? You have to change your perspective about how you approach things. And how you approach things, that will force your mind to begin to process a different way. Let me tell you something. You have billions, I said B with a B, billions of neural cells in your mind that can enable you to accomplish or do anything that you set your mind to do. Anything. The same brain that you have, the same structure in that big head that we all have, has placed man on the moon. I was reading in Fortune magazine yesterday, in the last 24 hours, Elon Musk made $30 billion in 24 hours. 30 with a B. Not Zimbabwe dollars, US dollar. In 24 hours. I just said this life is not balanced. This life is not balanced. I had to start questioning my life. I said, kilo day, what is it? 24 hours, $30 billion in 24 hours. Jesus. What will you do let's never say 30. What will you do $3 million if you have it today? Because I sat down and I did the math. I said, what do I need? I'm 53 now. What do I need to live till 90? I did the math last night. I know how much, if I decide that I am not working again, ever, I'm not doing anything anymore that will bring in additional income. If anything else is Gyara, if I just take money and I save money, how much do I need? I calculated it and I know exactly how much it is. Do you even know what you need? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So the point I'm trying to make is that you've got to get to a point where the way you face challenges is different. You've got to start seeing challenges as an opportunity for growth, as an opportunity to move on to the next level, as opportunities to become better. Don't ever be in a situation where you see yourself as a victim of circumstances or that this situation is meant to put you in the grave. Learn through the process so that you can become better. The seventh point I'm going to make is around financial mindfulness. And when I say financial mindfulness, what am I talking about? I'm talking about being able to manage your resources wisely. How do you manage your resources with wisdom? I mean, in a way that you are not being wasteful, you're not throwing things around, being able to maximize the little that you have. How can you do that? There are two simple ways that you can do it. Number one, you must always make sure that you understand the basics of budgeting, meaning you must create a simple budget and set financial priorities even when things are plentiful. I'm not even talking about tough times now. I'm talking about even when you have abundance, you must live by a budget. You can't just be throwing money willy-nilly whichever direction you go. That thing gets on my nerves. You are walking in the airport, somebody that you did not even plan for. Now, if you plan for it, then it makes sense. Somebody will just walk up and say, yalla way, good afternoon, sir. How are you? You're like, hey, how are you, my friend? Yeah, how are you? Where you go? Why? Now, it's okay. If you've planned it, if you've budgeted it, then that's okay. You know that you have specific amounts of money that you're going to give to charity. That's okay. But money that you're going to use to pay children's school fees because somebody hailed you on the road, you now just carry and give. Why? On what basis? So it is important for you to always have a budget mindset, meaning I have X amount of money. Let me tell you something. Even in my sleep, I know what my budget is. Every year, I know how much I spend on anything. If it's once the end of that month, once I've spent that amount on that issue, we wait the next 30 days. Jesus is Lord. Why? Because money doesn't grow on trees. If I make extra that month or in that period, then I can plan for everything that I do. I go on vacations, I go on trips, I buy things for myself, but everything is planned for. Everything is methodically planned for. I put things away, I set money aside, I sow towards things, and that way I get the rewards. I have the anticipation. And even my daughter, my daughter is my oldest daughter is 26 years old. Man, I saw her bank account the other day. I said, Jesus. Hey, if I knew the things that she knows, when she calls me on questions about finances, she calls and say, "Hey, Dad, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this. What do you think?" We'll talk about it, we'll discuss it. She would take a few days to go and think about it. I taught her one thing. I said, no matter how much money I get, that money I always put it aside for 1 week so that the money can calm down, so that myself I can calm down. Because with the way the thing's doing me, the money, as the money is coming in, the money is, or if you're not disciplined, as the money is coming in, the money is already calculating how it will leave your pocket. As it hasn't even arrived though. Some of you have already spent money that you are expecting. You've not received the money, but you've already spent it. Because that's how we're wired. So for me, I have a system that says it doesn't matter how much the money is, it doesn't matter how pressing the need is. Once the money comes in, it has to go into the account and let the money calm down for like 1 week. Let me see if I calm down. Let all of us think so that we can enjoy each other. Eh? Let's get to know each other first for 1 week before we start distributing resources. It is important. So it doesn't matter how much comes into my account today. The only way any amount of money will leave my account is through my budget or for a purpose. That's it. You must begin to think that way. You must become very resourceful about your financial priorities, especially when times are tight. And then you have to start seeking low cost opportunities. That means you have to identify affordable and free sources for learning, for your health, for support, for vacations, all those things that you do. If you see me shopping for ticket like this, you'll be like, but darling, you can afford it now. So all of us are flying to the same place. You are flying the same business class. You're flying, you pay $14,000. If I pay $14,000 for tickets one way, I mean round trip to one place and come back, I won't be able to enjoy the flight. I won't be able to sleep. You have a bed though, on that flight, but sleep won't catch me because I'm thinking about the 14,000. And it's not being cheap because I'm sitting down there on that flight. I know that there are people sitting here that paid 5,000 for the same flight. We're going to the same place, oh. The same flight, the same day, the same destination and back. They paid 14,000. How can I get the same thing for 5,000? I think about it. Why? Because I have plans for that extra 9,000. I have things to do with it. That 9,000 can become 10,000 for me. I can't just carry it and give to them because I want to sleep on one bed. And for those of you who don't fly business class, let me just tell you, there are a few things you're missing. There are very few things you're missing. The biggest thing you're missing, the biggest thing that you're missing is just sleep. Being able to lay that into a bed and sleep. The food is nicer. They give you nicer food. They put it on China. They give you glass. They give all those things. You get nicer treatment. People come over to you and all that. Yeah, you get all of those little things. You get all those extra perks. But the biggest thing you're getting is just somewhere to lay down and sleep. That's it. Besides that. So that's why when you see me flying from Abuja to Kaduna, and maybe in some cases you just get privacy. And for some people, they use it as opportunity to connect with business and other people. But you're flying from Abuja, you're going to Kaduna. or let's say from Abuja, you're flying to Port Harcourt, or from Nairobi, you're going to Mombasa, or from Kigali, you're going to Nairobi. And then you're now paying 3, 4 times the amount to sit down. They won't even give you food. They come and give you champagne at the beginning and orange juice. And then you land and then you be feeling like I have business class myself. What kind of foolishness is that? And you've just paid an extra $500 that you could have used for your future, for your destiny somewhere. You're going to calm down. Okay. So you've got to seek low cost opportunities. How do you get the same value, the same quality for less? It's very important for you to learn that. The next thing I want to tell you about is you have to seek support and break that stigma around mental health. Now, this is very important, and please listen to me very closely. You must approach the concept of you have to approach the concept of mental health with an open mind, meaning there has to be a degree of openness, meaning that you must seek help as you must see help. You must, okay, let me rephrase. You must see seeking help as a strength, not a weakness. What do I mean? Some people think just because I discuss the challenge I'm going through, that I'm now, what's the word? I think I have another screen open here that is echoing. Can you all hear me? Can you hear me clearly? Is there an echo on your end?
Yes,
Yes,
yes, I
we
can hear
can
you
hear
clearly,
you
sir.
clearly. We
Okay,
can hear
good.
you clearly.
For some reason I thought there was an echo. All right. So here's the key thing. You must get to that point where you understand that seeking help is not a sign of weakness. Listen, it's okay to just have somebody that you can go and vent with. Like just there are days, there are days that you just there are days there's just somebody you just call and you just sit down and you just pour it out. No filters. Why? Because it's not everybody you can do that with. You've got to be selective because some people you go and tell them your challenge. Next, the first day you call out, they'll say, "Hey, you." They now bring the things that you shared with them in confidence to now try and use that to remove the carpet from under your feet. So you've got to have at least someone or some persons close who you can share your deepest pains, your secrets with, that you know these people can hold you strong. They will be there for you. They will not judge you. They will not do any of those things that people normally do. It doesn't matter. You might be a female, that person might be a male. You may be a man, that person might be a woman. You understand? It doesn't matter. You could be another friend. The person might not even be a friend. It does not even have to be a pastor or any of those things, but somebody who can add value to you. You've got to have a system of support that is open where you can seek help, tangible, true help, so that you can do well. You have to identify resources. It doesn't matter if they're local, online, virtual, whatever it is, for mental health services, support groups, counseling options, whatever it is that works for you. Maybe for some of you, it's your faith, it's your church, it's your pastor, whatever works for you. Have a system in place that helps you with your mental health and with your mental well-being. Seek that support that you need. Don't feel stigmatized by anybody. Don't let anybody make you feel any less. Don't make anybody think that you're not going to be good. No, let everybody answer. Everybody knows where the shoe pinches and where it hurts. And that's what you're running with. The ninth point that I'm going to make here is you have to have self-compassion and kindness. I didn't say compassion, no. I said self. Compassion towards yourself. And what does that mean? Number one, you've got to have self-care. Show yourself kindness. Avoid all this self-blame in difficult times. Just remember, you have to remember that when it comes to building resilience, it's always done one step at a time, slowly. We all make mistakes. You are going to make, let me tell you something. Before you go to bed this night, you're going to make some mistakes. The only thing about mistakes is that they all come at different, mistakes have different consequences. They have different gravities and different degrees of hurt. But you have to understand that I've got to take care of myself. It's okay for me to forgive myself of my setbacks, allow myself room to make mistakes, just adopt, learn from it, and grow and move on. But for you to get to that point where 5 years after it happened, you are still saying, oh, Kemi, Olua, Kemi, Bello, you're such a horrible person. Why? Like on what basis? Move on. Get up, wipe your tears, take a shower, comb your hair, and move on. It's as simple as that. Spilled milk, it's water under the bridge. It's done. It's not going to change. Move on. Some mistakes, some mistakes reveal the outcome sooner and others do not. But you cannot wallow in self-pity, in self-condemnation, in pain, and all of that because you made a mistake. Come on. Who doesn't? Who's perfect? Nobody is perfect. So pick up and move on. Be compassionate towards yourself. Take care of yourself. In fact, let me tell you something. Let me tell you some of the things I do is once I find myself making too many mistakes, I'm out. My conclusion is that hey, I'm stressed. It's time for vacation. I need to give myself a reward. The oxymoron, right? Like, well, like, what do you mean? It's, no. It just means it's time to pull back. So have some self-compassion, be kind to yourself, knowing fully well that you're going to make mistakes. Forgive yourself for your setbacks, allow yourself room to make mistakes and learn from it, adopt and grow. The last thing I want to talk to you about is you have to know how to take actions, even if it is small. Start with one new habit from this list that I've given you today. I've given you about a list of about 10 things, 9 things prior till now. Pick one. Be consistent in making those small efforts that will lead you to positive change over time. We all hear the saying that Rome was not built in a day. Because if you understand what I'm trying to say now, you will understand the concept of just needing to focus in one area of improvement. Now, everybody does not need everything that I've listed, but is there one or two things that you need? What small actionable steps are you going to start taking from in those platforms on a consistent basis and begin to build a foundation for resiliency that you can get to a point that you now create that lasting overall change that leads to that overall well-being that you're looking for? Now, if you understand this framework that I've shared with you, it will provide you a balanced, approachable way for you to not only just internalize, but also be able to act upon the key concepts that I've talked about. All of it. So no matter what you're going through, remember, you must understand truly what mental health is. You must understand that physical well-being is the foundation to your mental health. You must understand that your emotional resilience and making sure that you're able to manage your stress and your emotions. You must understand that your spiritual well-being brings about inner peace and purpose. You must understand that setting boundaries to protect your mental health is mandatory. It is important for you to have a growth-oriented mindset, making sure that you can reframe all those challenges that you face from day to day. You have to be financially mindful by managing your resources wisely. You have to have a support system that ensures that you're doing well. Be compassionate, be kind to yourself, learn from your mistakes, and take daily, simple, actionable steps. And before you know it, you will be doing well. Now, I've been rambling for an hour and 10 minutes. So what we're going to do is that we're going to pause. We're going to open the lines. If you have questions, I would love to take your questions. If you don't have questions, then I will see you the last Saturday of next month. We're going to be doing this at the same time, last Saturday of every month. So at this point, I'm just going to take a pause and hand the call back to Kemi so that we can take a few questions. If you have questions, you can either write your questions. If you don't want to come, and please, if you're going to ask questions, turn on your camera so that we can all see you. Make sure you turn your mic on, and if you're coming on, or if you prefer, you can go ahead and still just put your question in the chat box, and we can be able to take it from there. Okay.